Game 7, two of the best words in all of sports. Well, on Sunday, that didn't live up to the hype. Eastern and Western Conference semifinals were supposed to be fantastic games between the Bucks and the Celtics and the Mavericks and the Suns, but alas, that did not happen. They were both blowouts. The Bucks get blown out by the Celtics 109-81, and the Mavericks and the Suns, that wasn't even a contest at all. It was over at halftime. Luka Doncic almost outscored the Suns by himself in the first half as they led by as many as 46 points. They won 123-90. They move on to the Western Conference Finals. They'll take on the Golden State Warriors, and the Celtics, of course, will take on the number 1 seeded Miami Heat starting Tuesday night in Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ed Cole. This is The Aftermath on the Inside Sports Talk Network on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you guys for tuning in as we recap these anticlimactic game sevens, if you want to say that. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my brother, one of the best in the business to do this. This is Deadspin writer Criss Partee. Chris,
hey, what's up, man?
So your 4 eyes saw what my 4 eyes saw in these
two
games,
yeah.
Right?
I still don't believe what our 8 eyes combined saw this evening in both of these games, but with the Suns game, it was, I mean, at least
let's start off with the Suns. Yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm.
At least the Bucks put up a fight. I told you this before we came on a couple minutes ago. The fans in Phoenix were right to boo at halftime at the end of the first half as the Suns are walking off the court to the tunnel. The fans started booing, and they were right to boo because there wasn't a sense of urgency really from the tip. Luka came out on score. I think was it the first 8 points of the game,
Yep.
And you could just see early on the Suns couldn't hit a shot. I believe Booker and Chris Paul were 0 for 7 somewhere along that lines in the first quarter, 0 for 11 in the first half. I believe you told me they just didn't have it tonight. Now, I thought at some point, especially in the first half, we'd see a run from Phoenix. They lock down on defense, make a run. It just never came. It just never came. And when when the shots aren't falling like that, it just seems like nothing else goes right. And nothing went right for them tonight. Nothing at all.
Yep.
Dallas couldn't miss. It started with Luka. Then it went to Spencer Dinwiddie, who also had 30 points in this game. I believe he had 21 at halftime.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Luka had 27 at halftime. The Suns had 27 at halftime. So that tells you how this game was going pretty much from the jump.
And yeah. So Dinwiddie had 21 at half. He almost outscored the Suns. So as you mentioned, and then Jalen Brunson came up huge today. He had 24 points. We always talk about the others when we talk about the Mavericks. Who else is going to step up and go alongside Luka and produce? And he got 2 other guys to produce today, Brunson and Dinwiddie. But on a day when the Suns shot 24% in the first half, Chris, and only scored 27 points, Luka pretty much did it all by himself. He really didn't need Dinwiddie and Brunson, but got it. And them by almost in game 7 is flat out embarrassing for the Phoenix Suns to put up a performance like that at home in a season when they won 64 games, Chris. And this is an absolute failure. You win almost 70 games in the regular season, and you cannot make it out of the second round of the playoffs and make it to the Western Conference Finals, and you fall flat on your face and have a despicable performance like that at home, Chris. What can Monty Williams say at the podium right now to describe his team's performance today?
They played like crap. I mean, what else do you say? Maybe he didn't have them prepared. I don't know, but that's not the Phoenix Suns team that we've been used to under Monty Williams these last 2 years. He won Coach of the Year this year. I thought he should have got Coach of the Year last year, to be very honest with you, over Tom Thibodeau. I don't think Thibodeau should have won it, but he got it this year. Like you said, they won 64 games, number 1 seed. I mean, they won the West by 8 games in the regular season. They won it by 8 games. It wasn't a close race. It wasn't after February, they pretty much ran away with the last 2 months of the regular season, only to come to the semifinals and get knocked out at home, where at one point they're down by 46 points. How do you justify that to your fan base? If you're the head coach, like you said, Monty Williams going to the podium after this game because he has to go do it, right? What does he say? What do you say? Like, how do you if you're the team that's on the losing end of this, I mean, how do you sum this up? Because it just seemed like they never got out of the starting blocks. They never got going. They couldn't hit shots early. I mean, everybody was cold for Phoenix early in this game, as far as from the floor, from the field.
Chris, you had a good theory. Possibly Criss Paul may have suffered an injury. I mean, he was good in the first 2 games, but games 3 through 7, he was nowhere to be found. And of course, clearly tonight he was nowhere to be found. Devin Booker was nowhere to be found tonight. So, do you think something will possibly come out in the coming days that Criss Paul had an injury, or did those 37-year-old bones finally catch up with him when he's trying to go up against Brunson and all these younger point guards and all these other guys that can run circles around him because they're younger?
I'll be very honest with you, Ed. It wouldn't shock me, and I'm not. And this is not to give Criss Paul or the Suns an excuse. They got their butts handed to them tonight, but it wouldn't shock me knowing Criss Paul's history. He frequently gets injured in the postseason, right? We know this about him. This frequently happens to him, so it wouldn't shock me. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if something happened, but it wasn't bad enough to where he had to actually not play. But maybe it hampered him. But even with that, Dallas, after from game 3 through game 7, Dallas just turned this series around. Luka dominated it, but he got the help he needed. And another thing, I want to give Jason Kidd a lot of credit because, for one, he's got this team playing stellar defense.
Sure.
This team was not known for their defense before Jason Kidd came in this season. And 2, I think he really has been able to get Luka Doncic to trust his teammates. That was an issue with Doncic the last few years before Jason Kidd came in, was him wanting to do everything all the time. And obviously, we've talked about this, him not trusting his teammates. When guys don't make shots, superstars tend to want to take over and do their thing. But it seems like they have a good group around him now. They got some nice young pieces. And again, like you said, we just always wonder who's going to be the other guy to show up. We know Luka's going to show up. You're not going to shut him down. But is it going to be Dinwiddie? Got him tonight. Jalen Brunson, got him tonight. If he gets 1 or 2 other guys, it's hard to beat this team. It just really is.
It is. They shot 57% from the field tonight, 19 3-pointers. We mentioned Dinwiddie of 11 of 15, Brunson 11 of 19, Luka 12 of 19, 6 of 11 from 3-point range. He had 10 rebounds, but they shot 57% in a closeout game on the road. They won game 6 at home. When their backs were against the wall, they tied it up 3-3, got on the road and won game 7. What an impressive performance for the Dallas Mavericks. We talk about the Suns and their absolute collapse, but give Dallas credit for coming out here and blowing the doors off the building in Phoenix. They'll get on the bird. I'm sure they'll probably head to San Francisco to get ready for the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. I'm sure they'll go ahead and do that. But what a great performance for them to go on the road in a high-pressure situation and just blow the Suns out.
Yeah, and I was really impressed because the last couple times we saw Luka in a game 7, he lost. He lost last year to the Clippers.
Yes.
He pushed them as far as he could, lost to them. I picked, we've talked about this. I picked the Suns pretty much since December to be in the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. Well, the Warriors held up their end. I just knew that Phoenix was going to come out tonight, button down on defense. You'd see Prime Booker. You'd see Paul at least give it his best try out there, and they'd get help from the others as well. Nobody did anything. I'm looking at a stat here. They shot 66% or 67% from the free throw line. Phoenix did tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you see a stat like that from a team that's usually very efficient, it just tells you they didn't have it from the get-go. To me, that tells me they just never had it tonight. They never had it.
And they had 12 turnovers and 38% shooting from the field. As you mentioned, Devin Booker, probably one of his most awful performances, 3 for 14 from the field.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges, 3 for 11. Nobody could hit anything. And DeAndre Ayton was nowhere to be found. 5 points, 17 minutes of play. He had 5 shots. He completely regressed to nothing. Jay Crowder, 2 of 9, 5 points. Nobody was able to do anything. That is just a despicable, sickening performance. And people here in Arizona, I'm texting with other media members here. I'm texting with Paul Richardson. He's at the game covering it. He's like, this is the worst performance I've ever seen the Suns have in that building. He's covered a ton of games at the Footprint Center, whatever. That arena was named before the Footprint Center. He's seen them all, Chris, and he said this is the most awful, horrific performance he has ever seen from this basketball team. And I would tend to agree with him too. That was as sickening a performance as I've ever seen from a basketball team, especially the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, and the same over here. I had 7 or 8 different text threads going on with different people, some in the media, some outside, just friends were talking about the game, but everyone was in disbelief of how poorly the Suns came out and played in this game. Everyone was, whether they thought Phoenix would win this game or not, nobody could have predicted this outcome. For them to, at one point in this game, be down by 46 points, be down by 30 at halftime, and not even score 30 points at the half. No one could have called. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody at all. They didn't just get dominated by Luka. Luka dominated, but they got thoroughly dominated in every aspect of basketball.
Yes, sir.
They got dominated. And that's
they got absolutely worked tonight. Worked.
Yeah. I mean, they got more than worked. I don't even know I can't even come up with a word that really describes this. I really can't, because I'm still, like I said, I was shocked that they came out so flat. I talked the other night about Philadelphia coming out flat against the Heat in Game 6. This was 5 times worse than that. This was 5 times worse. How do you explain this? I mean, well, one thing can come of this. This has to be motivation going into the summer. This is one of those losses that you don't get over, right? You don't get over this because you're at home. You fight all season to get the number 1 seed to have home court throughout. And never do you imagine that you're going to go out in the second round. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is not the conference finals. This is not the finals. Coming off a year where they surprised people and got to the finals, they come back the next year and put up a dud in the semifinals in Game 7.
Chris, I agree with you, but it's not good for this organization to have 2 consecutive summer motivations like that. Losing last season in the NBA Finals to the Bucks, that was motivation for them to get back to where they were, win 64 games. Yeah. And now they've got more summer motivation for the fact that they got blown out by 33 at home, were down by as many as almost 50 points. So 2 straight years of these kinds of summer motivations. That's not good for the organization. I know it's great that they are where they are right now as far as their organization. They've completely turned it around compared to what it was a decade ago, over the last decade or so, before Monty and James Jones took over this regime.
Yes.
But the end result is for you to win a championship, and they did not in these last 2 seasons. And for them to go out with an absolute whimper today, huh?
I mean, think about this, Ed. The West is only going to get tougher next year because, look, you got the Clippers coming back with Kawhi Leonard healthy and Paul George, even though he came back this season, but he missed most of this season with an injury himself. Then you got the Nuggets should be back with Nikola Jokic, a 2-time MVP. Jamal Murray should be back. And they have their other players, that have been out as well coming back. So the West is going to be loaded again. I'm not saying Phoenix can't come back and do what they did this year, but there's going to be even more competition next year. You got the Warriors back in the mix now. Obviously, now Dallas is a threat in the mix. You got young teams like Minnesota. I mean,
Memphis.
And obviously Memphis, after the run they had this year, is not going to be easy next year. It's not. It's not going to be easy at all.
No, sir. Okay, so you give me a quick preview of the Western Conference Finals before we move on to the East. We talk about Celtics and Bucks. What do you see from Warriors and Mavericks starting next week?
Well, like I told you, I got the Warriors either way. I got the Warriors going back, or getting back to the finals after, I guess, 3 years now that they've been absent from the playoff picture, kind of in general. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But here's the thing: Dallas shot 48% from 3 tonight. I mean, can the others? Because we know Luka is not a great 3-point shooter. He's a good one, but if he gets hot, he can really torch you from 3.
Yes.
But can the others also give them 4 games like they did against the Suns, which, I didn't think they could do that either. So it's possible. But can they give you 4 games against a veteran team that still has some championship DNA up there in San Francisco? I don't think they can. But again, this is going to be, and I don't expect this to be a short series. This one's going to go at least 6. in my opinion. But I think the Warriors will get it. And that's barring any injuries, anything like that. But if they're primarily healthy, the Warriors should get this series, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
It's gonna be tough though, because Luka's still gonna eat. I mean, in the NBA nowadays, especially with the rules, you don't really shut any superstar or stop any superstar. You got to worry about what the other guys are going to do, and you got to make sure that you negate them a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard for Dallas to negate Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And, Draymond's going to be there. He's going to try to get inside these guys' heads with his defensive play and the way he plays so gritty. He plays so tough basketball. Andrew Wiggins there. They've got so many different weapons there. They've got Jordan Poole, yes, coming off the bench. They've got weapons. So if Dallas can split one of those first two in San Francisco, they'll be in good shape going back to Dallas. But that's going to be hard to win that series. But like you, I think the Warriors are going to win it. I agree. It's going to go 6 or 7 games. It's going to be one of those knockdown, drag out series that is going to be like that. It's going to be a defensive struggle. But wow. But yeah, I see the Warriors getting back to the NBA Finals. It would be good to see them, Steph and Klay back in the finals, back in their usual stomping grounds they had before COVID.
Exactly.
So let's move on to the East. Bucks and Celtics game 7, another anticlimactic finish to that series. Celtics 109-81 win. Chris, they were plus 54 in the point from three-point range. The Bucks hit 4 3-pointers, 4 for 33. And the Celtics were 22 of 55. That pretty much tells you, that sums up the game right there, Chris. 3-point shooting for Boston and nothing from Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's the tell of the tape. And not only did they only shoot 12% from behind the arc, they didn't even shoot 37% from the field. 33 for 90 mm-hmm. for the Bucks. Mm-hmm. That's the tell of the tape right there. I mean, the Celtics even have more turnovers. I'm sorry. No. That's assists. Turnovers were pretty much even. 13 to 12 turnovers.
Yeah, 13-12. Yes.
The turnovers weren't a huge deal, but I mean, yeah, the tell of the tape is from the shooting from the field and the shooting from three, which we know the Bucks, they've been a pretty good 3-point shooting team, and it just didn't happen for them in this series in general, but definitely in this game 7. And again, this is another game. Now, I had the Bucks winning this series. I had the Bucks making it all the way to the conference finals again, but Jason Tatum was just too much, too much for him. And then you add in Marcus Smart and Brown. You even had some of the other guys like Williams do his thing. I think he had 20-something points, right?
Yeah, he had 27. He had 7 3-pointers today, Chris.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
yeah,
when you got a team. When you let a team, get 4 or 5 guys in double digits, and the guy that actually leads the team in scoring is not the primary scorer, you're in for a long day. You're just in for a long day, and that's what happened to the Bucks today. Now, I will say this for the Bucks: not having Chris Middleton really hurt them. That really hurt them. I'm not going to say for sure that they win this series if he's there, but we saw what he did last year in the postseason in big games and in deciding games, and he really came through for them more often than not. So I just have to think that it might, or at least this game would have been a lot closer had he been able to play. But the Celtics won. They're back in the conference finals. They were in there, I think, a couple years ago in the bubble.
Yeah, that's the last time. Last time them in the Heat. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now they meet the Heat again, and I have the Heat and the Warriors in the finals. So my pick is still alive. I'll say that.
I could see that. I'm really excited about this series, Chris, just for the defensive aspect of what Boston and Miami are going to bring in this series starting Tuesday night in Miami. What Boston was able to do defensively today, holding Milwaukee to 17 points in the second quarter and 38 for the entire half, for the entire second half. You talk about lockdown defense. The Celtics were on it. They were on one defensively today.
And I mean, I'm looking at Giannis's stat line here. I mean, if you just look at his stat line and you see 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, okay, he almost had a triple double. But I'm watching the game, and I mean, he's missing shots that are right at the rim. He missed at least at one point, I think he missed 3 in a row, just about, that were. He's right at the basket, and he's either too strong off the backboard. Now, someone's there, trying to defend it, but These are shots he usually makes easily, and he's missing these bunnies, as they call them, right at the rim. So it wasn't a very efficient game for Giannis, although he got, but again, superstars like Giannis, they're always going to get their numbers, right? They're always going to get their numbers. But I thought, and at one point, I just kept saying, okay, Giannis, they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run. And then the Celtics would just come back and hit another three. They'd hit another three. They'd hit another three. They just never let them get close enough to where they were within striking distance. And that was the difference here. That was really the difference.
Yeah, and the fact that Giannis, he labored again, Chris. We talked about it a few games ago, how many shots it takes for him. It took him 26 shots to get those 25 points. He was 10 for 26. So, again, Boston, they worked him and they grinded him to get those 25 points, 20 rebounds, and the 9 assists that you talked about. He worked to get that. It wasn't an efficient performance from a shooting standpoint.
Nope. And like you said, I mean, we pointed this out, I think last week, talking about this series. He looks tired. Like he really, by the third quarter, he's looking like he's exhausted. It's too much on his shoulders. And that's why I talked about, not having his number 2 there in Chris Middleton. And you can just see in Chris Middleton's face as he's on the sideline, you can just see him thinking about, damn, if I was out there, it's almost like he feels, no, it's an injury. You can't really blame somebody for an injury, but it's almost like he feels like, you can see like, it looks like he feels like he let his team down because he's not out there, because they're not giving the performance that they should, but they're also missing, like 22, 23 points a game, and his defense and everything else that he brings to it. It's just one of those things, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't.
Right. And again, like with Dallas, we talk about who else is going to step up for Milwaukee. Drew Holiday struggled again today, 9 of 21. He got 21, but again, 21 points to get 21 shots. Boston will take that all day, every day. If their star players have to take that many shots and exert that much pressure from themselves to get that many points, the Celtics will take that all day, every day in a 7-game series.
They'll take it all day. I mean, they basically got nothing from Wesley Matthews, who had a big game a couple games ago. He had 3 points. Grayson Allen, he had like one good game in the series. He had 1 point. Pat Connaughton, who's supposed to be their 3-point threat, he had 2 points. Again, like I always point to this, the others.
Yeah.
I always love when Shaq brings up the others, because the superstars, they do what they're going to do. You're not going to really stop them. What are the other guys going to bring to the table? Well, tonight the other guys didn't bring much for the Bucks. They just didn't.
And for the others, for the Celtics, Grant Williams, 10 of 22, as you mentioned, led the team with 27 points, hit 7 3-pointers. So it wasn't on Tatum to get all the scores or Jaylen Brown to do it all, even though Tatum got 23, Brown had 19, Marcus Smart had 11, even though he didn't shoot well, 2 of 9, but he had 10 assists. It's other contributions that you make. If you shoot poorly, at least make some assists and rebound the basketball. Yes, do other things.
Peyton Pritchard had 14 points off the bench.
Yeah, you and I were thinking together. Yeah, Peyton, 4 of 6 from 3-point range. He had 14 off the bench. Contribute something. Give something to your basketball team.
Yeah, the Celtics. This was a great win for them, and especially if you go back and look at how they started the season, they struggled. Or now the Bucks also struggled early on. They were dealing with injuries. The Celtics, they just couldn't get it together early on in the season. Around January, from January on, they were the best team in the league, were the Celtics. So they really turned it around, and now they're back in the conference finals again. They're back again. Now, for the Celtics, they've got to get over the hump because they've been here before, okay? I think between with having Tatum and Brown together, this will be their 3rd conference finals together. So it's time for them to get over the hump finally. It's one thing to keep getting there, but you can't keep going out at the conference finals. You got to get into the finals. Now,
exactly.
I'm going to go with Miami because I picked them to go all the way to the finals, but I would not be shocked if the Celtics come out of the series. And I'm just saying from, if I'm a Celtics fan or if I'm, with the organization, we've got to get over the hump now. It's not like this is the first time this group is making it to the conference finals. Okay. So yes, it's an accomplishment, but I guarantee you they expected to be here. I'll guarantee you that.
Of course, as you mentioned, their history, they've been there countless times to the conference finals. And as you mentioned, this will be a rematch of the 2020 Eastern Finals down in the bubble, down in Orlando. And So we'll see what happens. But for Boston, they've got to have guys that are going to step up, because we know, Chris, how deep that Miami Heat roster goes, and everybody on that basketball team plays defense, and they contribute in a myriad of ways. So the Celtics are going to have to counteract all that Miami's going to throw at them, and then do more if they want to get to the world, if they want to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and like you said about Miami, that's one thing I love about the Miami Heat. They play phenomenal team defense. I mean, if you just sit there and you watch them, you watch their rotations, they're rarely out of place defensively. And I'm always just amazed at how much heart Jimmy Butler shows on the court.
Especially come playoff time, right?
And that was my thing. I wrote about him a couple days ago for Deadspin, and I talked about, how in the regular season, no one has ever considered Jimmy Butler to be a superstar when it comes to the regular season. But when the playoffs come around, he turns it up. I mean, his points per game this regular season to the playoffs alone are up by like almost 8 points per game. He averaged 21.4 in the regular season. He's up to like 28.7 in the postseason. I mean, you don't see that a lot from, especially from a guy who's not already considered a superstar. But whatever it is, when the lights start shining bright, Jimmy Butler shows up. And if he gets any kind of help, it's tough to beat them.
Yes, I agree with you. I see Miami and Golden State in the NBA Finals too, and that should be a great series.
That would be great. Yeah,
it would be. So Tuesday night, game 1 of the Eastern Finals, Boston and Miami will take center court down in Miami, down at the FTX Arena. Then Wednesday, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals takes place in San Francisco at the Chase Center. Mavericks and Warriors should be 2 great series. Chris, brother, I appreciate your time after these 2 game 7s, which didn't turn out the way that we really planned for them to, but hey, we don't play the games. We just cover them.
Exactly. I mean, we were hoping we would come in here to talk about some, nail biters, last second shots in the fourth quarter, maybe overtime, but no, it didn't work out that way. But I think we're going to have 2 really good series in the conference finals. I don't see either one of these series being short, like 4 or 5 games. I think both go at least 6.
Me too. Yep. I just want to see some really great defense. I want to see the stars step up and do what they do in crunch time, and I think we're going to see that. We've got so many stars on all 4 of these basketball teams, so we're going to see some great basketball in the conference finals, and let's hope that leads into the NBA Finals, and we have a really great series there, whoever it is.
And like I said, I have Miami against Golden State in the finals, but again,
me too.
It wouldn't surprise me if Boston was able to get over the hump. And it wouldn't surprise me that much if Dallas would get over the hump and make it there. I mean, you got especially in the East, I think Miami and Boston match up very well. I don't think there's that much of a gap between them. Whoever you might think is better, I don't think there's that much of a gap. Even though I think most people would say Jason Tatum is probably the best player in the series, I think it's really close with Jimmy Butler just because of how he turns it up in the postseason. Just because of that. Because he does so much on both ends. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just an offensive guy. He'll give you 35, but also give you a great 40 minutes of defense on the other end as well. So he does both things, and that when your best player is willing to do that, it's contagious for everybody on that team. And I think we see that in the Heat every time they take the floor.
I agree. Chris, give everybody your social media. Of course, we can see it on the screen right there, but let everybody know how they can get to you and how they can see all your great writing on that great site called Deadspin.
Most definitely, yeah. So find me at deadspin.com every day, writing over there. A lot of NBA stuff I do. Find me on social media at Criss Partee on Twitter and Instagram, and also check out my podcast. It's called The Courtside Crossover with Criss Partee. You can find that pretty much anywhere you find podcasts: Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever else you find your podcast. So I'm all over the place. Just Google my name and you'll find something to pop up. One of those things will pop up, if not all.
What an honor it is to be in your presence, sir. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Ed, I appreciate you having me on as always. I really do. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yes, sir. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. For Criss Partee, this is Ed Cole. This has been The Aftermath on the Inside Sports Talk Network on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in. Chris, you want to do some of this conference finals time? You want to do some recaps, or you want to?
Let's do it.
Okay. So you heard that. Chris says we're going to do recaps for the conference finals, so we're going to do that.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready. We're winding down here, Ed. So we got to get it in while we can.
That's right, especially come crunch time. Yeah, this is something.
Yeah.
The race for the NBA championship. But thank you again, Criss. And folks, we will talk to you, I guess, after Tuesday night's game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston and Miami. Let's go ahead and do this thing. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Criss, thank you again for your time, bro.
Of course, always.
Cool. All right, so hold on, and I'll go ahead and get you after we end this broadcast. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. That's Criss Partee. I'm Ed Cole. This has been The Aftermath. Thank you, guys. I'm tongue-tied right now because we talked for a half an hour, and we talked basketball, and we had fun. We'll talk to you Tuesday night after Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals, Celtics and the